Do you like movies, comic books, science fiction, and more? Then you come to the right place. This is the Rebel Radio Podcast. You can find us at therebelradiopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and join our Patreon for just $2 a month where you get exclusive episodes. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
This is Long. The what's the movie theme? The MMA fighter.
Yes, the Asian persuasion, the beast from the east,
The man of the hour.
Yes,
Man with the power. The fire, the desire.
Yes.
If there was one of us that was most likely to be an MMA fighter, I would totally pick Long. Yeah.
Why? Because I'm Asian.
The marketability.
Because you're no, because like you're nonchalant, and you could secretly be like this master kick-ass assassin. You know?
Like I'm watching.
Like a Seagal.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like.
Oh, don't put that
no,
name
I
on
wouldn't even compare him
me.
to Seagal.
Like a cooler Seagal.
It's fucking Al Leon, man.
No.
Okay.
I'll go.
Seagal was never cool. Okay. He was
or Van Damme. I would go with Van Damme.
He was always a douche. I don't know, man. Van Damme's got some issues too.
He was a dancer.
Yeah.
He was a dancer turned martial artist.
And a cokehead.
But the ladies loved him.
Probably still is. I mean, yeah.
I would go with Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan's cool.
Or Jet Li.
And his power comes from beer. Or so they say.
So, yeah. Another week.
How are you, fellas?
Good. Yeah. So we're supposed to be getting frozen temperatures down here. We'll see how that goes.
Well, yeah, but it's like next weekend, though, isn't it? It's supposed to get really cold. Yeah.
That's the really cold stuff. We're supposed to be in the 40s, and then it's all of a sudden supposed to drop into like the 30s by Valentine's weekend.
Rookie numbers. This is nothing. You guys. I used to live up north. This is nothing.
North.
Like, friggin' 40 degrees during this time of year would feel sweltering, you know?
Yeah, I play Star Wars Galaxy's Legends a lot, and was talking to a couple of friends on there, and it's like 7 degrees and 15 degrees. I'm all like, oh, we got down to 50 here today. And, rookie numbers while they're freezing their asses off. But,
yeah,
that's okay. At least I'm not having to get up and shovel fucking snow every day. Yeah.
For real.
Yeah,
apparently that leads into arguments. Did you see that? Did you see that video I sent y'all? I want to get into it because it's a little crazy. Y'all see that video I sent y'all?
I only partially watch your videos sometimes. I'm not going to lie.
These people, well, long story short, these people get into an argument. This husband and wife get into an argument with their neighbor across the street for shoveling snow in Pennsylvania. And I guess it got so heated that they, like, oh yeah, come out here. You're not so tough. I'll beat you up, whatever. And the other guy pulls a gun and he kills them and then kills himself. It's just crazy. But it's all captured on a security camera.
All right.
I don't watch snuff films, Matt.
That's nice.
It's brutal.
I went back to work this week. That was brutal. Going back to work.
I'm about to say I hear people get winded and stuff. Were you winded?
I don't know if I've been so much winded. It's like I've had some headaches set in. I don't know if it's stress or just from being back at work and just pretty tired when I get home. But I'm pretty tired now. But I didn't have a lot of, me having COVID, I didn't have a lot of the chest problems or the breathing problems you hear people had. I mean, I really didn't. I was always checking my blood oxygen levels, and I'm more congested now fighting the last of this flu bug than I was while having COVID, Yeah, but I'm taking, I'm still on antibiotics and taking Mucinex, and I feel all right, just a little tired.
Yeah, but watch out. Definitely try to avoid getting a second infection, because the second round, is more dangerous.
Yeah.
I would hope.
No matter what blood type.
They were saying that if you have it, you're pretty safe for 90 days. And of course, hopefully I get the vaccine after the 90 days, That's what their find is, the white blood cell count, and the antibodies stay in your body for about 90 days. So, and obviously the vaccine, it's longer than that, but the initial antibodies are about 90 days. So hopefully no more of that business. So
yeah, not for a while.
No, I don't plan on it. And so yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the show then. Get into today's episode because cool movie to talk about and some other stuff. Let's get into Download This, where we tell people what we watched, streamed, checked out this week in our spare time.
I'll start. I have probably a pretty short list. Played Animal Crossing, of course, whenever I'm just trying to decompress.
There we go.
Fell into a rabbit hole of watching YouTubers who specialize in fish keeping. Almost had me this close in getting a fish tank. Yeah, aquarium type videos.
That's just a very random thing.
I know. My brain just.
I've come to a point in my life where I'm going to choose to watch a guy and his fish.
Well, no.
I mean, you just had a birthday long. You just had a birthday long. This isn't like a midlife crisis thing.
Yeah, I'll just adopt a cat.
Adopt a cat.
I miss owning a cat. Anyways,
I haven't seen y'all at the house because of COVID, but we set up a fish tank back in the fall, me and the kids. I actually have a fish tank in the house.
Oh, really?
Yep, three fish are still survived. I only had 5, so 2 didn't survive.
There we go.
The weird thing is I don't know what happened to the fish. I wonder if the other fish ate them.
Probably.
Yeah. So then I watched a very interesting documentary movie today called Maiden, and it's basically about like the first all-female sailing boat that raced around the world for the first time, and all of the trials and tribulations that go with sailing around the world for half a year. And it's pretty inspiring, pretty uplifting movie. And they were sailing in the year of 1989. So there's like this one woman, she wants to sail, but they only allow her to be a cook on the sailboat because it was like 99% men. And then so she managed to get her own sponsorship 3 years later and sail around the world. And managed to do really good, and it's a really good documentary film. They managed to get some of the films from their 1990s camcorder and upscale the resolution and clean it up. And if you want a pretty simple documentary that's pretty inspiring, check out Maiden. You'll like it. You can relate to some of the people in the documentary. And that's about it for my Download This. Oh, and I watched WandaVision, and we'll talk about that, whoever else seen it. So, go ahead, Matt.
I watched a bunch of Godzilla movies this week. Long got me interested in Godzilla. Wanted to, I was interested in, I know whenever King of Monsters came out, and you were just like, oh yeah, talking about how this monster made an appearance and that monster made an appearance. And I'm just like, well, I know Godzilla. And I was like, I was kind of interested on how all these monsters got their start. So first I watched Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And then, it led to watching Godzilla Raids Again, which... a rehash of the first, really. Just tried to grab some more cash on that one. Typical sequel stuff from Hollywood. And then I kind of went in somewhat chronicle order, skipped like 8 films, and then I watched Godzilla versus Hedorah, Godzilla versus Gigan, Godzilla versus Megalon, and then I went back and watched Godzilla versus... not Godzilla versus Rodan, just Rodan. This is just Rodan. But yeah, they're all interesting, and they all have a common theme somewhat. Like I just happened to watch a bunch where they sing to the monster. Like this monster has this opera to them, and they're just like, ah,
more singing.
Yes, monster, you're awesome. Don't kill us. And but I see why they were fun, and I see why they were entertaining, and they remind me a little bit of Power Ranger action, which isn't bad. But, it just reminds me so much of Power Rangers, whenever the Megazords would grow and then the monster would fight the Megazord.
So which one was the worst one that made you, was a struggle for you?
Probably Godzilla Raids Again.
Oh, really?
That's
the black and white one?
Yeah, because you had one good human character in there, and then, Godzilla isn't in there a ton. He just kind of appears. And you just don't know why. He's just like, oh, there he is. There's a second one. We've apparently killed Godzilla in the first one, and now he's just, boom, he's there again. Whoop. And so, there's just not a whole lot of, not that I was looking for consistency, but that one just showed a lack of consistency. And the rest, definitely could tell it was a cash grab, and that's what turned me off of it. There are some bad things, obviously, about Godzilla versus Megalon and some of the others, but it was like, campiness and cheesiness doesn't really just, discern me from films. It just makes me view it different. It's kind of like watching a cheesy 80s action film. You kind of enjoy the cheese, and that's kind of how I felt about these movies.
What was the best one for you?
It's got to be Mechagodzilla Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, because I felt like it had it all. It had the espionage factor. They kind of had like a 007 kind of roll to it and everything. Special effects were good, and then the singing that was there, which I've kind of enjoyed it now. I'm just like I kind of expect it now. And now that it's not there, I'm like, why don't you have it?
Yeah. Speaking of which, I got a whole stack of homework for you right here, buddy.
Yeah,
right here.
All those movies I skipped.
I think Mark has my copy. Not my copy, but I gave Mark a copy of Final Wars for his kid to watch. It might be in your library for the kids there, Mark.
Final Wars. Is Final Wars what, like movie 23?
Yeah, 2004.
Yeah,
it was the last of the Millennium era.
Yeah, number 29.
I think I have a digital copy of Final Wars also. Maybe I have to look.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I got some
other than that, you ordered me National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon.
Oh yeah,
and I watched that. And I will say that I enjoyed it. It's definitely it's not Naked Gun, but there are some really good moments in it. Like me and you talked about the other day, the first half of the film really strong. The last half kind of slows down a little bit, but it's funny. It's enjoyable. And I think, is there a second one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because I think, I was looking it up, and it said Loaded Weapon 1, but I didn't go on to see if there was actually a second one. Other than that, my rental for the Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Iron Mask, was running out, so I went ahead and watched it. And it's kind of a mess, obviously.
Read some horrible things about it.
Yeah,
I read that it's really badly edited too. They were saying there's stuff that doesn't make sense. Scenes will just stop and another scene will start, and they're like, "Wait a minute, what happened?"
Yeah, the editing's choppy at points.
Really poorly edited. Yeah,
wow. and it happens during some important fight scenes too. And you've got some cool characters in there. They just weren't utilized very well. And then, you think that the guards are demons, but they're just super powered armor and stuff, mystic armor. That stuff's cool, but, they didn't use it to its full potential. Arnold's cool in it, of course, but, he didn't have a very big part. He's kind of limited. He doesn't. I don't know. I felt like he was constrained. He wasn't allowed to be Arnold. He was like, Arnold without his cocaine or something. I don't think he ever did cocaine, but Arnold without his protein, maybe. There you go.
Sure, he did something.
Probably.
Arnold with a low payout.
Yeah. Yep. With a low payout, low budget.
Yeah.
And Jackie Chan was like in chains most of the time, so he really couldn't do a whole lot of martial arts until the end.
Are they only in it for one scene?
No, it's not. It's not one scene, but Arnold is kind of constricted to the to the tower, and his thing is like he's this cool guard that if you beat him and get past him and you climb up, then you can escape. And I don't know. There's just no background to him.
It doesn't even sound interesting.
And then Jackie Chan tells him about the dragon that's back east, and he wants to see the dragon. And then you just never see him until the end, and he's like, "Where's the dragon? Show it to me." And Jackie Chan's like, "It's everywhere, man. It's in you. It's all over everywhere."
Like
and he's like,
probably. Sounds like you probably should have waited till it went streaming.
Yeah, probably. So I rented it for $2.99. But so save yourself the hassle. Wait for it to go streaming if you are thinking about watching it. But that was about it for me.
I watched a ton of shit last week, obviously, but this week I didn't watch quite as much as I got ready to go back to work. But I did. I watched a documentary on Netflix, which I actually tried to watch this a couple of times and never sat down and fully engaged in it. And it's about He-Man. It's called The Power of Grayskull. It's very similar to the toys that made us. Only it's more like an extended version of how the He-Man toys were brought to life and how they sold it to Marvel Comics or DC Comics, and then eventually Marvel. No, I don't think Marvel ever did. It was not Emmett. One of those companies ended up picking up the He-Man license, and all the different toy lines over the years and the success of He-Man. And it was very interesting. It's a very well done documentary, and which made me want to watch Masters of the Universe. So I watched that. As cheesy as the Masters of the Universe movie is, it's just got a certain nostalgic factor to it that makes it kind of fun. And might have to do that on the show one day. Just have some.
I thought Frank Langella was dead.
Oh yeah,
he's still alive.
He's so good in the movie too, because he loves it. He loves talking about Masters of the Universe. He did it because of his grandson, and he really enjoys it. He thinks it's a fun movie. I actually like that. Sometimes those actors will do movies that aren't well received, and then they want to disown themselves from them. But not Frank Langella. He totally owns it. He goes, "Man, I love playing Skeletor." He said before, "I'd do it again if they asked me." And I think that's cool that he owns it. Because I hate Con Air. We did on the show with Brandon. John Cusack hates that movie. If you do cons, John Cusack won't answer questions about it. He won't sign Con Air merchandise. I think that's fucking stupid, man. Look, you were in the movie. Don't disown it just because you didn't like it. It's like, and you're John Cusack.
What's he complaining?
You're John Cusack. You're not a fucking Oscar-winning actor. It's like, come on.
Yeah. And
then I watched Transformers animated movie just because I was on a little 80s kick there, and then I watched WandaVision today. This show.
I did watch it. Yeah, I forgot.
Good.
So
we can talk a little bit.
The show is show's
spoiler
very
warning.
interesting. Yeah, spoiler warning for WandaVision episode 5. It's like I still not fully grasping it to the point where I'm engaged hardcore into it. Like you said, Long, the sitcom stuff kind of takes you out of it a little bit at times, but it sure as hell is doing a good job of throwing enough bones at you that keep you interested. The dialogue in this one to me felt like it was very important. Vision is obviously Vision's obviously self-aware that something's not right. The ending was, man, there's so much to be said about that ending. We all know that Disney owns Fox now, and so they own the X-Men and Fantastic Four, and we know they're going to we know at least the Fantastic Four are coming to the MCU. But that bombshell ending sure gave them a way to introduce the mutants and the X-Men.
Big time.
With the multiverse or however they choose to do it. But huge spoiler warning here. So she opens the door at the end of the episode, and it's her brother Pietro, but it's not Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played him in Age of Ultron. It is, I forgot the actor's name.
Evan Peters.
Evan Peters, that's right. I knew the Peters part. I can't remember Evan, who played Quicksilver, Peter Maximoff in the X-Men series. Even I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And it took me a minute to realize, like when you watch the Luke cameo in The Mandalorian, you're caught up in the moment, you know what's going on. This took me a second to fully grasp, like, wait a minute, did they just do what I think they fucking did? You know? Yeah. Because it's a much more casual cameo than Luke's was, you know?
Yeah.
But then the credits rolled, and I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty badass, you know?
I was wondering how they were going to incorporate him, because I saw him on the IMDb cast before the season started, and I was like, so I knew it was coming, but I didn't think, it was going to be at that point.
Right.
And then Kat Dennings' character is just like, they recasted Pietra?
Little meta there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Evan Peters' character, Evan Peters' Quicksilver, finally broke the first to breach the MCU box barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool. And so the show had my curiosity, but now it definitely has my interest to see what happens these last 3 episodes.
Is it only 8 episodes?
Yeah, it's only 8, I believe. Okay. What they're going to do with Kevin Feige said recently, the shows that are 30 minutes will be about 8 episodes, but like Falcon Winter Soldier is only like 6 episodes, but the episodes are almost an hour long. So they're longer episodes. So it definitely has my interest now. And I find Darcy a little more annoying in bigger content than I did. Her Thor cameos were nice, but I don't know. They write. Here's my thing with her character. When they first introduced Darcy in the Thor movies, it was 10 years ago. The whole hipster thing was popular. It was cool. Now it's just kind of like, I don't know. She doesn't fit as well. It's like they're still writing her as like this nerdy hipster, and it's just, she's kind of annoying, to me a little bit. That's just me, my personal opinion.
She's
and
gorgeous.
That won't be the last you will be criticizing her.
That's
in our
right.
presence. So we are moving on.
It's not her fault. It's just the way they write her.
No, it's your fault.
It's your fault.
Jiving with the rest of us.
You are not perceiving her in the way that the rest of us are perceiving her, aka the fappening, Mark. Fappening.
No,
she's all right.
No,
she's nothing special.
Never mind. I'm giving Mark this ground, man. You just ruined it, Matt. You ruined it. So I'm going to have to give Mark the high ground, and I'm going to have to agree with Mark on that.
Okay. Darn it.
I would. God, man, names are just escaping me. Who plays Wanda? God damn it, I can't remember her name.
Olsen.
Elizabeth. I'll take Elizabeth Olsen over Kate Dennings any day. That's just
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So on that note,
forward to it.
Let's get into the.
Yeah.
You can fap whoever you want to fap, Matt, in your spare time. I know you have your weekly Wild Things watch.
Fat Matt.
So
did you see Matt? Did you see the envelope, the Amazon envelope? When you opened up, did you see your name on there?
Yeah,
it's a Fat Matt Childs.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I noticed.
Did Jackie say anything when you show it to her, or?
Oh, I didn't show it to her. I was just like,
oh, you should have.
I might still have it in the garage. I'll probably have to go look for it.
Yeah. All right. Moving on.
Well, today's feature film from 2011, directed by, I didn't realize the guy who directed this, Gavin O'Conner, also directed. And a movie that I like a lot, which is Miracle with Kurt Russell in the 1980s Olympic team. And so I think it's safe to say Gavin O'Conner has an eye for sports films. But the movie we're doing today is 2011's Warrior, starring Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton and Nick Nolte. And I saw this on video, maybe a year or so after it came out. And this movie really surprised me. Because I was like, oh, it's an MMA film. I'm like, I don't know. But I wanted to see more. I had only seen Inception. And Dark Knight Rises was coming out. And I was like, man, I want to see more Tom Hardy. So, it's kind of why I watched this movie, just to kind of see who Tom Hardy was more, to get ready for Bane. And so the story is initially, I'll summarize. I haven't summarized in a while. Is an estranged family. You have a father who is a recovering alcoholic, and he's estranged from his two sons. His one son is struggling to keep the family afloat and not lose their home. He's a former MMA fighter, but he promised his wife he wouldn't fight anymore and make an honest living so that he would not, be in the hospital a lot. And the other son is returned from the army and is looking for his place. And he just happens to come across a gym and beats up on a guy and gets offered to get into this tournament called Sparta, which is a big tournament with a $5 million purse. So he starts fighting as well. And as it would be, they both entered the Sparta tournament, and along with a ongoing subplot of them trying to reconcile with their estranged father. And
the brothers are also estranged.
The brothers are also estranged from each other. And then eventually, as it would be, they go through this tournament and they end up facing each other at the end. And it's quite dramatic. And but man, there's some really great on-screen moments, and we'll talk a little bit more about what happens in the tournament here in a minute. But this film, when I first saw it, like, I didn't know what to expect from it. You hear an MMA film and you think, oh, this is going to be like a silly, just ridiculous fighting film. But it turns out to be a really pretty solid drama about a family. And it kind of finds you, as you're watching it, the journey with these characters, deciding whose side you want to take. And I remember I eventually watched it. I found myself kind of like really getting into the fights and kind of cheering on the screen as what was going to happen. Yeah. And Long, I know you had never seen this before, man. So I want your initial reactions.
Dude, so admittedly, I watched this a couple of nights ago, and then I'm like, well, this week is Warrior, so I was like really not interested in watching this at all. So I just like begrudgingly put the play button on, and I'm like, oh, okay, Nick Nolte's in this. And he
was nominated for an Oscar for this.
Yeah,
dude, and Nick Nolte, he's master class in how to act visually, in a very subtle, understated performance. Because I always pictured Nick Nolte as a firebrand. If you're familiar with his work in 48 Hours,
sure.
He was very volatile, and in this one, man, he acted his butt off, and Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton. I've always thought Joel Edgerton was always your typical generic actor.
Yeah.
So, but he was pretty good in this. Tom Hardy was good in this movie as well, and Frank Grillo.
Yeah.
Frank Grillo was awesome as Brendan's coach,
trainer, old coach trainer.
Yeah, and this movie definitely surpassed my expectations. It grabbed me on the go, my attention on as soon as Tom Hardy was reunited with his dad and just putting him down mercilessly.
Yeah.
Then his dad's like, no, I don't want to drink. But it has definitely some emotional moments in there that were like pretty cut you deep. You feel sorry for Nick Nolte's character because the dude's struggling. He's trying. He's not drunk or anything throughout the movie at all. He's just trying to reconnect.
Yeah.
And man, Tom Hardy's character is such an asshole.
He really is.
Movie too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Brendan's character too, to balance it out. So
he does some cool things. I mean, the part where he's just working out in the gym, and that professional fighter the top contender needs a sparring partner, and he's like, all I'm saying is I can keep your boy warm. It's like, as long as I get $200.
Mad Dog was his name, right?
Mad Dog, yeah. And he comes up and he like just beats the hell out of him, and that was pretty awesome. And I was just like, man, this guy's a badass. So you root for him there, but the way he treats his dad throughout the film, you just kind of, resent him, and you start, for me, I just started rooting for the older brother because of the cause. He gets suspended from school because they find out he's fighting. The principal, thinks it's badass, He's like, man, you're cool, dude. You're really beating the hell out of guys. But he's like, hey, man, I got to suspend you. The board, whatever. So he gets suspended, and he's got no choice but to fight to try and keep his family afloat. And I feel like his cause is the greater cause, and, he eventually wins, due to an injury. If his brother didn't, snap his tendon, then I don't know if he would have won that fight. Because at first it looks like they're miles apart as far as before he starts training with Frank Grillo. You got Crossbones as your MMA coach. You're going to do pretty good.
Well, I mean, the tournament, it's definitely one of the best tournament arcs in the movie.
Yeah.
Especially when it took up the last act or last half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The last third of the movie, and they really painted a picture of Koba, the Russian MMA fighter, as being pretty merciless. And Mad Dog, as you mentioned earlier, wanted to get his revenge on Tommy for humiliating him in the gym.
Yeah.
So, and it sets up the tournament arc sets up all these opponents in such a brilliant manner, and then at the same time, they're portraying Tommy as this unstoppable force. And then Brendan as the underdog throughout the tournament. Those commentators almost stole the scenes a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
one of the commentators is holding up a bag with a goldfish in it. He's like, "You see this bag? Yeah, it's a goldfish. What about it? See, that's him. That's Brendan. He's going into a tank of sharks." And then the other guy's like, "Oh, come on, man!" He's like,
That's
gives
funny.
the guy a little respect.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the best tournament scenes in movies for sure.
Yeah, I think there is an underlying story where Tommy was a former Marine who left his unit but saved some men on his way to go AWOL. So, towards the end of the tournament, the military police show up to arrest him for dishonorable discharge or whatever it's going to be, and they kind of left that hanging at the end of the film. I guess you assume he's going to get arrested, even though they portray the fight at the end as Tommy and Brendan reconciling, and and their father's happy to see them. And that's probably my only little beef with the film. It's like, I wish they would have maybe, did a little bit more with that story. Were they still going to arrest him or not? Because it gives you a hopeful ending, but yet also they kind of left that hanging over the film, a little bit. Does that make sense to y'all?
Yeah. There wasn't. They definitely didn't make it a focus. It was an underlying theme. Main focus was reconciliation between the brothers, and you saw that with Brandon. I love you.
And you talk about Nick Nolte's acting, and it's like when he sees his two sons, embracing each other and walking out of the ring, and he's just smiling, and you feel good for him because that's all he wanted as their dad. He was just trying the best he could to reconcile with his son, and it does give you that hope that you assume when Brendan talks to him going to the ring that my assumption is he told Brandon, or he told his dad, you come see the girls when this is all said and done, and and that's what I took from it. And so as they're walking out of the ring, their father sees their sons, and he's got that proud moment, that proud smile on his face, and Nolte sells it so well. It's like it gave you that sense of hope at the end of the movie, which I thought was really well done. But yeah, this movie, great tournament scenes, and again, that's a credit to Gavin O'Conner as a director. Like even in Miracle, all his hockey scenes are so well shot. And he shoots this film really well too. And sometimes you think about like action sequences, we talked about this before in the show, that are shot too close up or too quickly, but it works in this movie because it gives you a feel of being in the ring with Tommy and Brandon and the other fighters. And I think that it fits this film to have those up close fighting sequences, a little bit more than it would like the hockey film Miracle, it's shot a little bit further back because you don't want that to be up close. But for Warrior, I think it works really well, And,
no, I think whenever I watched this like 4 months ago, and whenever I was watching it for the first time, Jackie had saw me watching it, and she thought I was watching a real MMA fight because she came in at the end, and she's like, "Oh, who's fighting? Where are you watching? What channel?" And I was like, "It's a movie. That's Tom Hardy." And she's like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, and I've mentioned this movie to people before, and they're like, "Oh, that's a dumb MMA film. I don't want to watch that." And I'm like, and I've told them, I was like, "No, you really like Long. You got to really give this movie a chance. It really is much more than an MMA film. It's a It's a film about family and doing whatever it takes to protect your family or to do what you have to do for your family." And our friend of the show, Brett, who's one of our Patreons, it's a movie that he mentioned. Like he had texted me, "Man, have you ever seen this before?" And I was like, "Oh yeah," and he absolutely loved it too. I think it's a movie that's easy to enjoy and find and come away from this movie with something that you can appreciate or take or enjoy in it. And it's just a good film, a highly underrated film. I think that unfortunately, I read it came out against something else at the box office, and it just couldn't find a ground. They didn't sell the film very well. No major stars in it because at that point Hardy wasn't a big star yet. It was kind of up and coming. MMA was still in 2011. MMA just 10 years ago was still kind of a niche thing. It wasn't the peak that it reached in the mid 2010s. So it didn't find an audience, but it's found an audience on home video and streaming. It's done very well since then. And obviously Hardy's going into a big career, and Joel Edgerton's still doing a lot of films. So I think it's found its audience, 10 years later. And people like Long who watch it for the first time and discover it. Well, I'm glad you liked it, Long. I was really
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It brought a tear to my eye. No. But I was just a slight disappointment that they didn't do the typical what happened to them after the fight, because it's based on a true story.
Semi, it's based on an MMI fighter, semi-based, true story.
Yeah,
but that's I'm with you. That's my only beef with this film. You're already going 2 hours and 15 minutes. Give us a 5 more minute epilogue, I just felt like I get they were going for the Rocky ending, walking out of the ring, the big moment, but it felt like this film kind of missed an epilogue. Did he fully reconcile with his brother? Did his dad get to see the grandkids? So that's probably my only thing. Give me 5 more minutes of the film. But it does so much else right. I guess you can forgive that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So how do you score this?
Who wants to score it first?
Man, I think it's at least an A minus. If it's like there are some things that it misses. At the end, you want some closure. That's the only thing it misfires on. I think everything else is spot on. I say A minus.
Yeah, I give it an A for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little higher than A minus. I'll give it an A too. I think it's a solid film that does so much right. It's so entertaining. The last 40 minutes of this film are just fantastic entertainment. Great tournament scenes, and intertwined around the story that's going on. And some might say it's predictable. Oh, you knew the two brothers were going to fight, but
you didn't know who was going to win.
No, you didn't know who was going to win. But I also think that this movie, I think it does such a great job of setting up the family problems and the dynamic of the brothers that if they didn't fight, it would have been a disappointment. So it's okay that it was predictable.
Yeah.
I think it can be forgiven for that because it sets it up so well. And I can't imagine the movie going any other way, and it's just a good movie. So, and I'm glad that we did it and, long enjoyed it. And that makes me happy.
It's a great movie. Definitely one of the best sports movies out there.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah. It's in. Is it in a top 5? It's definitely in a top 10. But is it a top 5? Yeah.
I just was really impressed. Like I've seen this movie several times, and I had no idea until this week that it was from the guy who directed Miracle, which is another one of the best sports movies ever made. So
the box office is not an indictment on this movie.
No, not at all. I mean, hell, Miracle wasn't a huge success at the box office either.
Mm-hmm.
So Gavin O'Connor's out there making really good sports movies that people are having to catch later on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's definitely a director I won't sleep on. In fact, I think he has a movie It came out during the COVID era last year with Ben Affleck. The Way Back. It's not a sports movie, but I heard it's really good too. So I might have to give that a look and watch that.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to our top 5 then. And every now and then you get a movie.
One other thing. One other note that I was impressed with. This movie is. I also like how intimate the movie is because it's very sparing in the music soundtrack too.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really play any music towards the end. So I want to make a little note of that. That it's one of the most quiet movies I've ever watched, and it's just dialogue that drives the movie.
That's a really good point. The first time I watched this, I thought that too. This feels like it's a big movie because it's a little over 2 hours. It has this huge tournament piece, but it's also a very quiet, compact movie about these 3 men and their family. So you're absolutely right. That's a good point.
Yeah, they really held back on the music until the tournament arc.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that brings us to our top 5. Top 5 movies that surprised us that they were good. Which seems kind of strange to sound, but sometimes you see a trailer and you're like, oh, that doesn't look that good. And then you end up watching it and it surprises you. And I don't have Warrior on my list only because I wanted to throw some 5 other movies that we haven't talked about today on the list, but Warrior could definitely be on the list like this. So who wants to start? Their number 5 movie that surprised them, it was better than they thought it would be.
I'll start. I haven't started in a while.
I want to be last on this one.
Okay.
All right. I never go in the middle, so I'll go in the middle today.
Yeah.
5 for me. I kept seeing this thing being talked about here and there, and then I saw it on sale at Walmart one time, and I just bought it just because. I think Mark, you told me it was good, at least for a one watch, that it was a good movie, and I think that helped fuel my decision to buy it, and that's V for Vendetta. I didn't think much of it really, but to me it ended up being a good film, not a great film, but a good film. For going from no expectations to wow, not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, Natalie Portman is good in that movie.
Yeah, too. Natalie.
Yeah. At number 5, I have it's strange that we will have 2 Jackie Chan mentions in one show. And I'm sticking with the fighting. Genre. But the Karate Kid remake. I actually rented that thinking, man, this is going to be stupid, but it's actually not bad. The Karate Kid remake with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith is actually a pretty good film. And it's enjoyable. And it's just, I remember watching that thinking, there's no way this is going to be good. And it turned out being way better than I thought it would be. I mean, you're never going to capture Mr. Miyagi and the original story. And that's the thing. They didn't try to do that with the Jackie Chan Karate Kid remake. And I know people said, oh, he's the Kung Fu Kid, it's not Karate Kid. Oh, fuck, I don't care. It's just a title of the movie. But the movie itself is actually a pretty decent film.
I agree.
My number 5 movie that I was not really interested in seeing, but I saw a trailer too. It has to be actually Dances with Wolves, and the trailer didn't strike me as interesting at all. I was like, and this is when I was in middle school too.
Yeah.
And it's like, that looks like a boring Western. And then I caught it on television, and then I was just like, wow, I'm actually really impressed by this movie.
The first hour is still a little slow, but once you get through the first hour of Dances with Wolves, the last 2 hours are amazing. You know, the first hour is a little slow. Once you get past that, man, the rest of the movie's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, Dances with Wolves, was really good. I really enjoyed it.
For me, I didn't think much about this movie because Stallone directing a movie, give or take, it's hit or miss, and that was Expendables, and I found it fun. I thought it was just going to be a forgettable action film. I actually think it's rewatchable. It's not bad. It's definitely not like shoot your eye out or I See You. One of those throwaway Stallone movies. Definitely a decent storyline and a good cast.
Eric Roberts was the villain, right?
The first one, it's Stone Cold, right? Stone Cold's the.
I thought that was the second one.
No. Steve Austin was the henchman for.
Yeah, he's a henchman. The main guy is Eric Roberts.
That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, it had I thought it was a pretty cool concept having all the classic '80s action heroes.
Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
Arnold was the governor still, and he made a cameo.
Yeah, I kind of like the second one more because it had a little bit more Arnold. Van Damme was a great villain in that one.
He really was.
Yeah,
he was pretty brutal as a villain.
A guilty pleasure, but I liked it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it more than Fast and Furious movies. Number 4, Mark.
And number 4, I have a movie that when the trailer first came out, I was just like, or when I first heard they were making it, I was like, why? But then I watched it and I was like, okay, this is pretty fucking good. And that's Blade Runner 2049. It was just a movie that the trailers just didn't do it for me. I just wasn't that interested. But then through word of mouth, I heard people say, no, it's actually really good. And I eventually saw it and it was good. And Blade Runner 2049, I think, ended up being way better than the expectations I had for it. Because I just felt that 30 years later, what was the point in a sequel,
I enjoyed this movie more than I enjoyed the original. The original was okay. It's just kind of, I don't know, it didn't click with me. But I liked Blade Runner 2049 because, I don't know, it just had a more emotional impact for me compared to the original. I mean, Ryan Gosling finding out that he's not really the chosen one, and his disappointment in that. You felt it.
Yeah.
And then you finding out who the daughter was the whole time. So
right.
I liked it. It's a very good movie. Made more sense. My number 4 is another Western, and it's also from the 90s. And I didn't think much of it. Only saw one scene of it, and I was not impressed. But when I finally saw it on home video, the movie I'm talking about is Unforgiven. I had no interest in seeing this movie whatsoever, and Unforgiven is a movie that surpassed my expectations when I finally sat down and watched it beyond the first act. So
it's funny, the kid that can't shoot.
yeah, that was the character that kind of swayed me away from my initial viewing. I just didn't like the kid, and I was in no mood to watch it. So, Unforgiven is my number 4 pick.
Number 3 for me, it's something that I didn't think anything of and wasn't even going to go see it. And then that's whenever memes started being popular. And I saw a bunch of memes come out for this movie, and that was Lego Movie. And I went and I watched it, and I thought it was just awesome. It was super fun. and Chris Pratt is great in it. Of course, Will Ferrell's great in it, and Morgan Freeman too, and just grew up with Legos and just was like, wow, I can't believe I ever doubted this film.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a CGI movie, but the CGI made it look like stop motion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that effect.
Or like too kiddie, like too Disney-ish or something. But it was fun for all ages, really.
Too bad part 2 wasn't as good.
Yeah.
But, never saw part 2.
At number 3, I too have a Chris Pratt movie, which might surprise y'all. But when I first saw the trailers for this, I thought, okay, this is where the MCU goes off the rails. It just didn't look good to me. The trailers didn't sell it to me. I thought Marvel was taking a huge risk, and that's Guardians of the Galaxy. These are unknown.
Oh, yeah.
These are unknown characters. I was like, why is Marvel doing this? I really did not like the trailers at all. It just didn't do it for me. I was like, oh, Marvel's going to make a sci-fi comedy. This looks ridiculous. Wasn't a fan of the trailers, and of course, the movie definitely surpassed my expectations. I actually really enjoyed it, other than the lady who kept literally fucking howling in the theater every time Chris Pratt said something. And my now ex-wife even yelled at her and said, God damn, you don't have to laugh every time he says something. And she just sort of looked at my ex-wife like, oh my God, somebody said something to me. But it was that bad. The lady was just howling, like, shut up. Even I was like, shut up. I mean, anybody has a right to laugh in the theater and enjoy the film. When you're doing it to the point where you're disrupting everyone else, it's like, okay, that's enough.
Chris Pratt's like, hey.
I mean, Matt, that's how she was. I'm not fucking kidding, dude. It was that bad. But that's my number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hopefully it wasn't my sister, because she's notorious for being vocal.
No, this was an older theaters. It was an older white lady. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Number 3 for me, I had really no interest in watching, but I was kind of coaxed into watching, and it was X-Men Days of the Future Past. I did like X-Men reboot, the soft reboot, and then Days of Future Past came around, and I'm like, okay, this is actually really good.
It's probably, it might be the best X-Men film.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Fassbender was really good as Magneto. And really, I mean, the whole Capitol attack scene at the end was really well done. Yep. I kind of have to throw in, I know a lot of people dogged Apocalypse, but I actually enjoyed Apocalypse as well. I enjoyed it more than I expected to, because I heard so much bad buzz about it, and then I watched it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can see the flaws, but I think this is pretty damn entertaining, I mean, if you could look past Jason Isaacs' character, but
yeah.
That's my number 3, X-Men, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse.
I just love that scene where he goes back into the past, and he wakes up, he just, banged the boss's daughter, and he's putting on his pants, and they're like, hey,
you just like it because you got to see Hugh Jackman's butt.
And then, no. And then he's like, whoa, I just got here. The guy who slept with the boss's daughter, that was the other guy. But this is me. It's a whole different person. But
anyway,
and then they're like,
your number 2, Matt.
My number 2, another movie that a lot of these are things that Mark referred me to, and I had seen the reimagination of Planet of the Apes, and that was the only Planet of the Apes movie I ever saw. And you're like, man, you've got to see Rise. And I was skeptical about it at first, and man, it was an awesome movie. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. Franco was not very Franco-ish in it. It was different James Franco than I was used to seeing at that time, and it was a good movie, and led to a great trilogy.
It's funny, I was looking at movies for the show for this year, and that's actually the 10th anniversary of that movie already, coming up in August. So it could make an appearance. My number 2 is a movie that I don't know if I really judged this movie by trailers, but I kept hearing about it, and it got nominated for an Oscar, and I was like, it just didn't look good to me. And we did this on the show at it was our first live show we did at Misfit Toys, and that was District 9. I had no interest in seeing it at first, and then I ended up watching it, and I've probably seen the movie 6-7 times since. And it's one of those movies that, like, you kind of see something different every time you watch it. And I was like, I start to realize the genius of District 9 now. That looking back at it, it's like, man, this is a really smartly done science fiction film.
It's still relevant.
I think Neil Blomkamp is a visionary, and I hope he does more. I even enjoyed Elysium. Chappie, not so much. That was kind of a mess, but Elysium was good too. So I hope that we see more from him as a director. So.
Yeah. Well, didn't people wanted to see villainous Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
and Chappie.
Yeah.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. You go sleep.
That movie just. I don't know. Chappie always felt like there's something there. It just didn't quite. I don't know if it happened in the editing room or what. It just didn't quite come together right. The movie was just kind of a mess.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention. No, I'll mention after. So my number 2 is another one that I don't know, wasn't really expecting much based on the trailers, and then I decided to go watch it. It was Interstellar, number 2.
Nice.
Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. I love this movie. It's a great movie. I think, in my opinion, it's still his best non-Batman movie for me personally. It's just so many things that this movie was aiming for, and I could definitely feel the influence of 2001 Space Odyssey in it. I love how immersive the movie is. I watched this on IMAX, by the way, so I'll never forget the experience of the blaring space opera-ish soundtrack with the pipe organs matched with the space sequences, and I was blown away. Basically, my expectations were like meh, but when I walked out of the theater, I was like, "Wow! I just experienced a movie."
I want you guys to see Tenet so I can see what y'all think about it.
May have to watch that.
Interstellar is my number 2 movies that surpassed my expectations. Go ahead, Matt. Drum roll.
Number one. Mark had also referred me this movie because you made
a fucking genius.
Yeah, man, you made a reference to this movie, and I was like, yeah, I've heard of it, but whatever. No desire to see it. And that's Blade Runner. And Blade Runner, I remember texting you the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was just like, man, this movie looks gorgeous. Everything. It's like it was ahead of its time. I liked Harrison Ford in it, and the people who played the replicants were, very good in their roles. Man, good movie. Had to add another Blade Runner to our top 5.
My number 1 could be a surprise, but go back to late 1998, and you see a trailer for a movie starring Keanu Reeves, a guy you've never heard of before, a bunch of cyberpunkish stuff that just looked ridiculous. Like it honestly looked like a bad sci-fi film, and that is The Matrix. And then it comes out in theaters, and word of mouth hits like this is something really cool and good. And I saw it in theaters, and I was like, holy shit, that was fucking badass. But my initial reaction to The Matrix was like, it just looks stupid. Because you got to think, Keanu Reeves wasn't a huge star at the time. He was the guy from Point Break and Bill and Ted. He had a few hits. But you're like, what is this ridiculous-looking science fiction movie with Keanu Reeves in it? And it just didn't sell me early on. And then when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. The rest is history. We've got the rumor. I didn't even write this down in the news, but the rumor is that it's going to be called The Matrix Resurrections, which might explain why people come back to life. So we'll see. But The Matrix was my number 1 film that surpassed my expectations.
You guys might be surprised with this. Well, it's my number one choice, and my number one movie that I totally ate crow for, and had to admit that it was pretty damn good, and became a fan of, and it was Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Really?
Yes, Lord of the Rings for me, because before this I was not a fantasy fan at all, not that much, and when I heard about the movie coming out, I was just kind of making fun of it. Oh, did they use magic missile? Did they use magic missile in the movie? You know, did they roll any dice? You know, to determine their attacks and stuff. I was like, just making fun of the whole fantasy genre as a whole. Like, do they have any hot elves in it? You know, and I was an idiot back then too. And then I finally sat down and watched the VHS version. The home release, and they had like 2 cassette tapes in it. So, but yeah, I watched it and I was like, wow, this is really good. Ian McKellen is really awesome in this role.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and by the end of the movie, I felt bad for dogging it.
I thought it was cool. This week, Viggo Mortensen did an interview with someone, and he's kind of thrown his support behind the prequel series that Amazon's doing, saying that he will tune in and watch it, that he's curious. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah.
Strider.
But yeah, it's based in the Second Age, so that's the time when Isildur was the king of name of that place.
Gondor.
Minas Tirith.
Yeah,
Gondor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gondor, yeah.
But anyhow, that's my number one.
Cool.
It was Lord of the Rings. It's totally surpassed my expectations. Totally surpassed me dogging on it too. So when I dog on the movie, that means I won't ever watch it, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I finally I was bored one night and I decided to check it out. And I couldn't stop. I was a fan of the trilogy.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, good top 5, guys. Let's do a little bit of news. So we got an announcement last week that Justice League is coming out in March, and it's going to be rated R. We'll see. I don't know how it's going to be rated R. I guess there's maybe Batman beats the shit out of somebody or something, But I don't know.
Doesn't give me hope.
It just sucks. It means I have to watch it now before I can let Michael watch it, just to make sure it's nothing, too crazy in there. But we'll see. So I'm still looking forward to watching it.
All 4 hours of it.
Yeah, right?
No, that's right. It is 4 hours.
So last week we had news that Legendary and George Clooney were developing a Buck Rogers series. But now Skydance, which is J.J. Abrams' production company, says not so fast. We have the rights to Buck Rogers, and we're developing a movie that's going to be written by Brian K. Vaughan, who's a comic book writer. So now the owners of the Buck Rogers estates have stepped in, and they are basically going to have to take this to court. From what I saw, Legendary's development is further along. They actually have some scripts written, and they have George Clooney behind it in production, and they could have Buck Rogers on the screen much faster. The Buck Rogers estate has not said who they've given the rights to, so this could be interesting. I hope they settle it, because I think Buck Rogers is a cool character, and I'd like to see it done on whether it's the small screen or the big screen. So hopefully they'll figure out what's going on with that here soon. I didn't realize that Buck Rogers had been around since 1929. He was in comic books and stuff like that, and then they had the TV series in the 70s. So yeah, so we'll see.
Nice.
Marvel and Ryan Coogler Ryan Coogler, of course, directed the Black Panther film, are going to develop a Disney Plus television series based around Wakanda. So that could be kind of cool, especially with Coogler behind it. I think Coogler, he made Creed and made Black Panther and Fruitville Station. I think he's a really great director. I'm really looking forward to see what else he does with his career. So I think that should be fun. I mean, the Marvel series, WandaVision's been interesting, but it's been off to a good start, and looking forward to Falcon Winter Soldier, and now we'll get a Wakanda television series. So, that'd be cool.
That would
and
be.
And then, lastly...
there's a thing with that there was a comic book series on Wakanda, but it was like about the splinter group of Wakandans that went to space and created their own evil empire of Wakandans, in space. I wonder if they'll be about space. I'm sure it's more about the traditional Wakanda, not the evil space empire Wakanda.
That'd be funny.
And then lastly, Netflix is developing a Sonic the Hedgehog animated series. So why not? And that's how slow the news this week was. I had to add that in there. But hey, there's a lot of big Sonic fans out there, video game fans, and Sonic's very popular right now in the success of the movie. So Netflix is bringing it animated to their platform. So, yep, that's all the news I got. Unless y'all can think of anything I missed. But,
Nope.
Yep. Well, I didn't even realize, it's funny, I was looking to see on our list what movie we're doing next week, and I didn't realize that it was a Keanu Reeves movie after I just talked about how I had no expectations. And this might be another movie I had no expectations for. When initially it came out, you thought it was just a throwaway action film, and it turned out to be a fucking fantastic, amazing action film that has spawned 2 sequels with another one on the way, and that is John Wick.
I'm up. You like that, huh?
Nice ride.
Thanks.
How much?
Excuse me?
How much for the car?
She's not for sale.
You have good day, sir.
Daisy. I lost everything. That dog was a final gift from my dying wife.
Jonathan, you got out once. You dip so much as a pinky back into this pond, you may find something reaching out to pull you back in.
It's personal.
Where'd you get that car? What does it matter?
It's not what you did, son. It's who you did it to.
Nobody?
But nobody is John Wick.
You working again? No, just sorting some stuff out.
Task your crew.
How many?
As many as you have.
Hey, John. I thought I'd let myself in.
People keep asking if I'm back. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
I'm not afraid of John Wick.
Uh-huh. How good's your laundry?
No one's that good.
I thought not.
This is a badass fucking movie, guys. And y'all know this.
Yes.
And,
I've been itching to rewatch this movie for a long time.
We're going to talk about it next week on the show. It'll be a lot of fun. He needs no introduction. We don't have to preview this movie that long. So we'll be watching it this week and talking John Wick next week on the show. And God damn it, COVID. We would be getting John Wick 4 in just a couple of months if it wasn't for COVID. Now we got to wait till next year. So, oh well, it is what it is. Because I think he's already filmed it, if I remember right, because he's working on Matrix 4 now. So yeah, I think John Wick 4 has already been filmed. But that's next week's show. In the meantime, go to the rebelradiopodcast.com for all your Rebel Radio needs. And Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. So you can follow us so you don't miss a show. And we thank you as always for listening. Stay safe out there. Have a great week. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
This is Long, the MMA champ. Yeah.
Yeah.
And until next week, remember as always, just go there and do it.
Just go there and do it.